Right down here you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you see it right there. 8 right there. 9, 10 bolts to take off, and then you have 2 on the outside here. So 12. Take those all off, and this cover will pop out. Some people disengage their brake. It's not hard to do. It's right there if you really want to do it. I just bring mine out, tilt it, and it comes right out this way. Alright, so cover off. You can see just pretty freaking dusty. Pretty dirty in there. And I don't know if the camera's going to show it or not that well, but it's real smooth on the side of this belt. So it's kind of, you know, your indicator that the belt's gotten too hot or wet, in my case, too many times, and it's worn it down. It should look like this and be roughed up on the edges. Sometimes if there is enough life left in your belt, whereas this belt I can actually take it off, you can actually extend your life of your belt. If you're in kind of a pinch, you take it off and you use some sandpaper and you can actually rough up those edges. Just keep in mind that obviously you're affecting the overall width of your belt, so it's not going to perform like it's supposed to, but it will get you by. So this one's not completely toasted. I could probably rough up the edges, and I could keep it in a drawer just in case I'm ever in a bind and, you know, somehow snap that belt. I've never really heard of that happening on Yamahas, but I suppose it is a possibility. Anyways, you can keep it for a spare, toss it, whatever. And to get this one out here, you got right in there, you've got a bolt. Another one right back in there. Not sure if you can see it or not. Let's get the flashlight out. Another one in there. Another one in there. 2 of those are longer. And you keep in mind the orientation of your guard bracket there. Alright, when you pop the old cage cover bracket there off of your main sheave, your main, clutch there, your CVT main clutch, then you get your, I'm talking backwards. Anyways, when you pop that off, you got 2 longer bolts. You're going to take those bolts, screw them right into these 2 holes, push them in there, and that will expand the sheaves here on this clutch, so you can remove that guy. Once you got them screwed in like that, bring it like that, you rock it forward, and then come right back, and voila, and then we'll put our new one on here in a bit. Alright, so while I was in here, I figured, what the hell, I'll just pull the old housing off of there and get it cleaned up a little bit, make sure everything was fine. If you got to replace your one-way bearing, this is a little bonus. Take these guys out all around here, pop this straight off, your one-way bearing behind there. Alright, and before you put 2 clutch sheave sets on there, your primary and secondary clutch, you need to inspect the back of this. There's a washer right here, or excuse me, not a washer, a gasket. It's a rubber gasket. Check this one out already. This one is good. This one, not so good. New one. I'll put that on there. You see it's got like a channel in it that goes on this little ridge all the way around. Make sure it's seated on there properly. Try to do it with one hand. Anyways, you see how it goes on. I'll do it with both hands, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Alright, there you go. It's all on there. Make sure it's seated properly all the way around, that it's not kinked up anywhere or popped up or anything. It does kind of like to work itself back off. So you got to make sure it is all on there good. And then it's ready for install. There's the old gasket that goes on the clutch cover here that you see on the outside. And new gasket. I'll throw that on there. Note you don't want to stretch this as you're putting it in. You just want to straight up press it straight down as you go, because if you stretch it, it will stretch out, and then when you get to back to around to where you started, you're gonna have this big old loop of excess sticking out, and then you're gonna have to peel it back up. And hopefully, if you didn't ruin it at that point and stretch it out too far, you can let it kind of shrink back up to its rightful size and then reinstall it. You don't want any creases in it. You want to get down in there and get it nice and essentially level with this side, because when you put it back on there, the back plate that we just installed, it's got like a little wall, little ridge on it, and that ridge is going to push right down inside of there, and it's going to create that seal. It's actually a nice design by Yamaha to do that. They're pretty good about keeping the water out, unless you were like me and messed up on your previous gasket and let a little water in there. That's why I'm having to do this, but I'm just making sure it's done right this time. All right, so we got this little boot there. First vent, it reinstalled, tie it back up. Now we got to put this beast back on there. That piece is going to go right on there around that vent. Make sure that you have your other hose clamp on there. And then you see this little grommet hole right here. It sticks to that little post right there. And once you got it back on, you're going to want to make sure that you didn't fold under any of the sides. Sometimes you can get a little part of it that'll kind of fold under. You can just put your fingers back there. Feel, make sure it's not gapped or anything. Make sure it's snugged down that way all the way. I tightened this one up already. But when you put that on there, it kind of wants to pull this a little bit away. So you make sure this boot is on there good and tight. Be careful not to strip it out, but make sure she's on there nice and tight like, because you don't want to get any water up in there. That one's already tight. That's going to keep the wetness out, so you don't have those gremlins trying to sneak in there on you. And while you're in here, you will probably more than likely know that your one-way bearing is going bad, but just a quick way to check it: grab your primary clutch shaft right here, and it's going to turn counterclockwise just fine, but you cannot go clockwise. There should not be any jiggle. If there's any jiggle in there whatsoever, like once you try to go back clockwise and it goes a little bit but may stop. Yep, that's not a good sign. That means you got to pull all this out, drain your oil, pull that part out, replace the gasket that's behind there that you saw, or well, you can see the edges of it, and get that one-way bearing out and put the new one on. Just some food for thought if you ever do have to do a one-way bearing on one of these beasts. Do not, I repeat, do not go aftermarket. There are certain parts that you can go aftermarket and you're totally fine, like belts, for instance. But a one-way bearing, do not change your one-way bearing out with an aftermarket one. Use an OEM one and you'll be fine. Torque this beast down right here to 100 pounds, and this one right here to 72 pounds on your secondary clutch. Primary 100, secondary 72. With this one, they do sell a special tool that you can use, or you can do what I do. You can actually take like a ratchet strap. You gotta cinch it around here, and you can tighten it down around there to keep it from spinning while you're tightening it down. And the back one, yeah, it's a little bit easier. You can do that one. Anyways, torque those down to the proper specs, 172. Alright, now that we got that done, still have our 2 bolts right in here to spread the secondary out so we can get our new belt on. I'm gonna have to put the camera down, spin it on there like that, and then you just gotta walk it around like that on your secondary. Make sure your primary is pulled apart. Walk it around, boom, just like that, it's on. Alright, and you'll see, uh-oh, I thought the battery was totally dead. Anyways, there we go. When it engages, it'll get tightened. Alright, next we're going to take the old cage right there, put it up there. You see on this cage, I was saying before when we took it off, you see these areas on the bottom here, like you can tell there's a dowel that goes in there, like that hole is bigger than that hole. And right up here you can see that's a regular size hole, and then you got your dowel right there. And the easiest way to remember how this goes on is there's a couple ways, but those holes rather. So here you'll see a regular size hole, a regular size hole. And there's where the dowel is at, which is obviously going to go to the next one up. But how you orient this without even having to look for the dowels is these 2 holes end up being right here in the middle. So your clutch case cover, that guy, those 2 holes right there in the middle, that's what they screw into, is that on the on this cage here. So these little squares, if you got those, remember they always go towards the rear of your quad. Once you got it on there, make sure it's good and seated. Here's your shaft right there. Will go right inside that little bracket that's inside of there, which hopefully you've seen in the video before, but it goes right in the cylinder here. And you can even put a little dab of grease in there too if you want. Not too much, because you don't want to fling it out on your belt, but just a tad of it won't hurt it. Alright, now you got the basket back on there. Do your final inspection of your new gasket that you put in. If you put a new one in, if you didn't, just make sure your other one's not torn up, not too compressed. If it's too compressed, it more than likely will fail on you. And they're inexpensive, so. Anyways, it looks good. And we're going to get that thrown back up on there.